The distress beacon pierced through the cosmic void like a dying star's final scream. Commander Veltari of the Zenthran research vessel, Luminous Echo, watched her bridge crew's mandibles click in despair as the last of their quantum drives failed. Around them, space itself seemed to twist and writhe. They had been studying an anomalous region where dark matter condensed into impossible geometries, and now they were trapped within its hungry embrace. "How long?" Veltari asked her chief engineer, Crixnall, whose 4 arms worked frantically at the damaged control matrices. "Atmospheric recyclers will fail in 47 rotations," he replied, his voice carrying the metallic undertone of defeat. "Perhaps 30 if we maintain current power consumption." The Luminous Echo had been humanity's gift to the Zenthran collective, a gesture of goodwill between species that had only recently made contact. Ironically, it would now become their tomb. The dark matter storm had pulled them from hyperspace, like a predator dragging prey into its lair, and their advanced Zenthran technology proved useless against forces that shouldn't exist. Veltari's sensory stalks drooped as she contemplated their fate. 23 souls aboard, including 3 younglings on their first deep space assignment. The nearest Zenthran patrol was 8 cycles away, far beyond their remaining life support. Their emergency beacon could reach perhaps half that distance before the dark matter interference consumed it entirely. "Commander," whispered Nav specialist Yathara, her voice barely audible above the ship's dying hum. "There's something on the emergency frequencies. It's different." The transmission crackled through speakers designed for Zenthran vocal patterns, creating an almost musical quality to the alien words. "This is Captain Mordecai Voss of the Terran vessel Iron Resolve. We've detected your distress call. We're not supposed to be in this sector, but we're en route to your position. Hold tight." A collective gasp rippled through the bridge. Humans were still considered a curiosity by most species, young, aggressive, and technologically inferior to the established galactic powers. Their ships were crude by Zenthran standards, their crews reckless. Yet here was one, impossibly present in a region of space that should have been utterly impassable. "How did they—" Crixnall began, but Veltari raised a primary arm for silence. "Doesn't matter," she said, though her heart's hammered with something that might have been hope. "Signal our position and status. Full emergency protocols." As Yathara worked to establish contact, Veltari found herself studying the void outside. The dark matter continued its impossible dance, creating patterns that hurt to perceive directly. No known technology could navigate through such chaos. The math simply didn't work. But perhaps humans had never been particularly good at math. The response came 18 rotations later, crackling with static but unmistakably confident. "Echo, this is Voss. We see you in there. Gonna be a rough ride. But we've dealt with worse. Prepare for emergency docking procedures." Through the observation ports, impossible as it seemed, a dark shape began to emerge from the writhing storm. The Iron Resolve materialized from the dark matter storm like a leviathan breaching from primordial depths. Where Zenthran vessels curved with elegant bioform aesthetics, the human ship bristled with angular brutality, a flying fortress of gunmetal, gray-studded with sensor arrays, weapon ports, and what appeared to be jury-rigged modifications welded directly to the hull. "By the Great Spiral," breathed Yathara. "They're actually here." Captain Voss's voice crackled through the comm once more, overlaid with the sound of klaxons and shouted orders in the background. "Echo, this is going to be unconventional. Our docking systems aren't compatible and the storm's playing hell. With our positioning thrusters, we're going to have to do this the hard way." Veltari's translator struggled with the phrase. "Hard way? Captain, please clarify." "Tractor beams and prayer, Commander. We're going to grab you and pull you out of this mess manually. Hope your inertial dampeners are working." Crixnall's 4 arms froze over his console. "Commander, Our dampeners are operating at 12% efficiency. A direct tractor pull will kill us all, Veltari finished grimly. She opened the channel again. Captain Voss, we cannot survive a standard extraction. Our systems are too damaged. The line went silent for long moments, filled only with the ominous creak of the luminous Echo's hull under gravitational stress. Then Voss's voice returned, somehow both casual and absolutely certain. Well then, I guess we'll have to do something non-standard. Stand by. What happened next would later be described in both Zenthran and human records as technically impossible, but empirically successful. The Iron Resolve didn't simply grab the research vessel, it somehow synchronized its gravitational field with the dark matter currents, riding the storm's own energy to create a protective bubble around both ships. How are they doing this? Crixnell whispered, his instruments showing readings that violated several fundamental laws of physics. Through the observation ports, they could see human crew members in magnetic boots working outside their ship, manually adjusting some kind of field projectors while the dark matter storm raged around them. The sight defied sanity. Any rational being would have been torn apart by the gravitational shears, yet the humans moved with practiced efficiency. Echo, you're going to feel some turbulence, came Voss's voice, now tinged with what sounded like excitement. We're about to punch through the storm wall. Everyone secure? Veltari barely had time to acknowledge before the universe seemed to wrench itself inside out. The luminous Echo shuddered, groaned, and then suddenly burst free of the dark matters, grip like a cork from a bottle. Normal space spread around them, blessed and clean and magnificently empty. Welcome back to the universe, folks, Voss said, and Veltari could hear the grin in his voice. Now, about those life support issues. As the human ship maneuvered alongside them, Veltari realized something that sent a chill through her exoskeleton. The Iron Resolve wasn't just in the wrong sector, it was equipped for deep void operations, with modifications that suggested extensive experience with spatial anomalies. This wasn't a chance encounter. The humans had been hunting something in that storm, and they'd found it. The docking tubes connected with a resonant clang that echoed through both vessels. Veltari stood at the airlock with her senior staff, traditional Zenthran greeting postures, prepared despite the irregularity of the situation. When the seal hissed open, she expected to meet Captain Voss and his diplomatic contingent. Instead, a single human stepped through, tall, lean, with graying hair and eyes that held depths she recognized from her own mirror after particularly difficult deep space assignments. He wore a simple uniform marked with unfamiliar insignias and carried what appeared to be a field medic's kit. Commander, Veltari? His voice was rougher in person, weathered. I'm Mordecai Voss. This is Dr. Kalen Byrne, our chief medical officer. A second human followed, shorter, with intricate tattoos covering visible skin and carrying advanced diagnostic equipment. We brought medical supplies compatible with Zenthran physiology. The casual mention of their biological requirements caught Veltari off guard. Most species knew little about Zenthran anatomy beyond basic externals. How do you— Long story, Voss interrupted gently. Right now, let's focus on keeping your people alive. Byrne, what's the assessment? Dr. Byrne activated her scanner, sweeping it over the visible crew members. Elevated stress toxins, mild hypoxia, but nothing critical yet. The real issue is going to be psychological. How long were you trapped in there? 17 rotations, Veltari replied, still processing the interaction. Captain, I must ask, how did you locate us? That storm should have made detection impossible. Voss and Byrne shared a glance heavy with unspoken communication. We weren't looking for you specifically, he admitted. We were tracking something else. Something that's been leaving a trail of dead ships across this sector. The word sent. ice through Veltari's circulatory system. Dead ships? 17 vessels in the past year, Burns said, her tone clinical but grim. Different species, different technologies, but all found in the same condition. Hulks drifting in dark matter fields, crews missing, no signs of conventional weapons damage. Crixinal's arms clicked nervously. Are you suggesting something is hunting starships? Not suggesting, Voss replied, stating, and you just survived an encounter with it. He gestured toward the observation port where the dark matter storm still writhed in the distance. That isn't a natural phenomenon. It's a feeding ground. Veltari felt her world shift again. The research mission that had brought them here, studying dark matter accumulations, suddenly took on a sinister new meaning. Our science teams detected unusual energy signatures before the storm captured us. We thought it was simply an unexplored phenomenon. It is, Burns said. Just not the kind you can study safely from inside a laboratory ship. She paused, consulting her scanner again. Captain, I'm reading residual exotic particles on their hull. Whatever's in there definitely made contact. Voss nodded grimly. Which means it knows about you now, and it's not going to stop hunting. He turned to Veltari with an expression she was learning to read as determination mixed with something darker. Commander, I need to ask you something, and I need complete honesty. What exactly were you researching out here? The question carried weight beyond its simple words. Veltari realized that their rescue had come with strings attached, strings that might determine not just their survival, but the fate of far more than 23 Zenthran researchers. We were investigating reports of dark matter concentrations that appeared to violate known physics, she said carefully. The formations seemed to be self-organizing, creating structures that shouldn't be possible under natural conditions. Voss's expression darkened. Self-organizing. That's what we were afraid of. The briefing room aboard the Iron Resolve reflected its builder's pragmatic philosophy. Stark metal walls lined with display screens, chairs designed for function over comfort, and an atmosphere thick with the tension of urgent purpose. Veltari sat across from Captain Voss, while Dr. Byrne manipulated holographic displays showing data that made her sensory stalks twitch with unease. We call it the Harvester, Voss began without preamble. Not very creative, but accurate. It's been operating in this region for at least 18 months, possibly longer. The first confirmed kill was a Corvani trading vessel, crew of 47, completely vanished. Ship found 3 weeks later, drifting in a dark matter field, hull intact but every organic component gone. The holographic display shifted to show vessel after vessel, each one a hollow shell floating in impossible space. Veltari recognized several of the designs, proud ships from civilizations that had mastered the stars for millennia. How is such a thing possible? Asked Crixnall, his voice barely above a whisper. Dark matter doesn't interact with normal matter in ways that would allow for this. Dr. Burns' tattooed fingers danced across the controls, bringing up molecular analyses. That's what we thought too. Turns out we were wrong about dark matter being inert. Under certain conditions, specifically when influenced by a sufficiently advanced intelligence, it can be manipulated to interact with normal matter in ways that redefine our understanding of physics. You're saying this harvester is intelligent? Veltari's mandibles clicked involuntarily. And it can control dark matter? More than that, Voss said grimly. It can create dark matter, shape it, weaponize it. The storms aren't natural phenomena, they're hunting grounds. It uses them to trap prey, then... He gestured at the display of empty hulks. Nav specialist Yith-Ara, who had remained silent until now, suddenly spoke up. Captain, you said you've been tracking this entity. That implies you have some method of predicting its movements. Voss nodded approvingly. Sharp observation, Yes, we do. The Harvester follows a pattern. It targets ships engaged in deep space research, particularly those investigating exotic phenomena. Something about active scanning seems to attract its attention. The implications hit Veltari like a meteor strike. Our research beacon, we've been broadcasting deep space scanning data across multiple frequency ranges for the past 30 rotations, which is exactly why it found you, Dr. Byrne confirmed, and why it's going to keep hunting you. The Harvester doesn't just kill, it learns. Every crew it takes, every ship it processes adds to its knowledge base. It now knows about Zenthran technology, Zenthran physiology, and most importantly, where to find more of both. The room fell silent except for the distant hum of the ship's systems. Veltari found herself contemplating a universe suddenly far more dangerous than she had imagined. Her people had always prided themselves on their scientific achievements, their peaceful exploration of cosmic mysteries. The idea that curiosity itself could be a death sentence challenged everything she believed. "What do you propose?" she asked finally. Voss's expression hardened with resolve. "We kill it. Before it kills anyone else." Crixnal's 4 arms gestured in the Zenthran equivalent of disbelief. "Captain, with respect, if this entity can manipulate dark matter itself, what hope do we have against it? Our combined vessels are impressive, but against forces that can reshape space-time. We have one advantage it doesn't expect," Voss interrupted. "You... us?" The Harvester has never encountered prey that escaped its trap. It's going to come after you, expecting easy victims. Instead, it's going to find a prepared ambush. Voss stood, his presence somehow filling the small room. "Commander Veltari, I'm formally requesting that you and your crew join our mission. We need your expertise with exotic phenomena, and you need our protection. More importantly, the galaxy needs this thing stopped." Veltari looked around at her crew, scientists and explorers who had signed up to study the wonders of the universe, not to fight cosmic horrors. But she saw determination in their postures, resolve in their movements. They understood the stakes. "What exactly are you proposing, Captain?" Voss smiled, and for the first time it wasn't entirely pleasant. "We're going hunting." The combined fleet of Iron Resolve and Luminous Echo approached the designated coordinates like antibodies hunting a virus. 3 days of preparation had transformed the Zenthran research vessel into something unprecedented, a fusion of human engineering pragmatism and Zenthran scientific precision. Weapons that shouldn't exist had been hastily installed, shields, reconfigured to frequencies that violated several treaties, and sensors tuned to detect impossibilities. "Contact," announced Lieutenant Vasquez from the Iron Resolve's tactical station. "Dark matter concentrations increasing exponentially. Pattern matches Harvester manifestation protocols." Veltari, now stationed on the human ship's bridge as Joint Commander, watched the displays with growing unease. The space ahead of them was beginning to writhe, reality itself seeming to fold and twist as dark matter coalesced into hunting configurations. "Confirmed," added Yathara from her position at the combined sensor array. "This is identical to the formation that trapped us, but larger. Much larger." Captain Voss stood between the 2 command positions, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. "How much larger?" "Conservative estimate suggests a volume increase of 400%, Dr. Byrne reported from her modified science station. "Whatever's coming, it's adapted its hunting strategy based on our previous encounter." The first tendrils of the dark matter storm reached out toward their ships like grasping fingers. But this time they were ready. Modified shield generators, based on principles Veltari's team had derived from studying the Harvester's own energy signatures, created a protective barrier that turned the dark matter streams aside. "It's testing us," Voss observed, watching the probing attacks intensify. "Trying to understand our defenses." "Let it learn," Veltari replied, her voice carrying a steel that surprised even herself. "We have surprises of our own." The Harvester's first real assault came without warning, a focused beam of weaponized dark matter that should have cored both ships like a plasma lance through paper. Instead, it struck the modified shields and scattered into harmless radiation. The secret lay in quantum resonance patterns that Crixnall had discovered in the exotic particles coating their hull after the first encounter. "Direct hit, no damage," reported Lieutenant Vasquez, unable to keep the amazement from her voice. "Shields holding at 97%. But the Harvester was learning. The next attack came from multiple vectors simultaneously, probing for weaknesses with an intelligence that was both alien and terrifyingly familiar. Dark matter constructs began forming around them, not the chaotic storm they'd encountered before, but structured hunting geometries designed to channel prey into killing zones. "There!" Ythara called out, her sensors finally locating what they'd been searching for. "Core signature detected bearing 27 Mark 15, distance approximately 12,000 kilometers. The display showed something that challenged perception, a structure that existed in the spaces between normal matter, visible only through its gravitational effects and the way it bent light around itself. It pulsed with rhythms that reminded Veltari uncomfortably of a heartbeat. "That's it," Dr. Byrne confirmed, her voice tight with controlled excitement. "The source of the dark matter manipulation." "But, Captain, the energy readings—" "I see them," Voss replied grimly. The entity wasn't just large, it was actively growing, feeding off the dark matter storm it had created. "Veltari, is your team ready?" The Zenthran commander activated the specialized equipment they'd spent 3 days preparing. "Exotic matter torpedoes armed and ready. Quantum disruption charges primed. If our calculations are correct, this should destabilize its matter, manipulation capabilities. And if we're wrong?" Veltari's mandibles clicked in what humans might have recognized as a predatory smile. "Then we die knowing we tried." The order to fire came simultaneously from both commanders. Human engineering and Zenthran science merged in weapons that had never been tested, based on theories that had never been proven. Exotic matter warheads streaked through the dark matter storm, their quantum signatures designed to create cascade failures in the Harvester's control systems. The explosions, when they came, weren't visible in any conventional sense. Reality itself seemed to stutter and skip, like a recording with missing frames. The dark matter storm convulsed, its careful geometries collapsing into chaos, and in that chaos, something screamed. The Harvester's scream reverberated through dimensions that normal instruments couldn't detect, but every sentient being aboard both ships felt it. A sound that bypassed the ears and resonated directly in the consciousness, carrying with it alien rage and an intelligence far older than any civilization in the galaxy. "Exotic matter torpedoes achieved partial effect," Crixnall reported, his 4 arms dancing across modified control systems that merged Zenthran precision with human adaptability. "The entity's dark matter manipulation is compromised, but not eliminated." Through the observation ports, they could see the space around them changing. The chaotic storm was reforming, but now it revealed glimpses of something that had been hidden within, structures that seemed to shift between dimensions, geometries that hurt to perceive directly, and at the center of it all, a presence that radiated malevolence, like heat from a star. "Visual contact," announced Lieutenant Vasquez, her voice carefully controlled. "Magnifying main display." What appeared on the screen challenged every preconception about life in the universe. The Harvester wasn't a ship or a creature in any conventional sense. It was something that existed partially in normal space and partially in dimensions where dark matter was the dominant force. Its body resembled a vast jellyfish made of twisted space-time, with tendrils that stretched for kilometers and a core that pulsed with energies that shouldn't exist. By the great spiral, whispered Ythara. It's beautiful. It's an abomination, Veltari corrected, though she understood her navigator's reaction. There was something hypnotic about the entity's movements, a rhythm that seemed to echo the fundamental frequencies of the universe itself. Dr. Byrne was running continuous scans, her equipment pushed far beyond normal parameters. I'm detecting organic components within the dark matter matrix. This thing isn't just manipulating exotic matter, it's partially composed of it, a hybrid entity that exists in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. How is that possible? Asked Captain Voss. It shouldn't be, Veltari replied, studying the readings with growing fascination and horror. Unless it's not native to this reality. What if it's from a universe where dark matter is the normal state, and regular matter is the exotic phenomenon? The implication sent chills through both crews. An entity from a dark matter universe would view their reality as an aberration to be corrected, their matter-based life as a contamination to be cleansed. The Harvester's next attack confirmed their worst fears. Instead of trying to destroy their ships, it began attempting to convert them. Dark matter streams flowed over their hulls, seeking to transform normal matter into its own exotic state. Only the modified shields, resonating at frequencies that disrupted the conversion process, kept them from being absorbed into the entity's mass. It's not trying to kill us, Voss realized with dawning horror. It's trying to recruit us. Confirmed, Dr. Byrne reported. The dark matter streams are carrying conversion protocols. Any organic matter they touch begins transforming into hybrid states. The crews of those other ships, they weren't killed. They were converted. The thought that 17 ships' worth of sentient beings might still exist within the Harvester's mass, transformed into components of its alien consciousness, added urgency to their mission. This wasn't just about stopping a predator, it was about ending a cosmic infection. New contacts, Ythara called out suddenly. Multiple vessels approaching from various vectors. Configuration matches the missing ships from your database. The display filled with familiar silhouettes. The Corvani trader, a Helix exploration vessel, others from the Harvester's growing collection. But they were wrong now. Their hulls dark with exotic matter, their movements synchronized with the entity's rhythm. It's calling in reinforcements, Voss observed grimly. Ships crewed by converted personnel operating under its direct control. The tactical situation had suddenly become far more complex. The Harvester wasn't just a singular entity, it was the center of a growing collective, accumulating not just matter and energy, but intelligence and technology from every species it encountered. Captain, Veltari said, her voice carrying new resolve. We need to end this now, before it becomes unstoppable. Agreed. All ships, attack formation Delta. Target the entity's core. We're going to finish what we started. As the Iron Resolve and Luminous Echo moved into their final assault positions, the Harvester's scream echoed through dimensions once more. But this time, beneath the alien rage, they detected something else. Fear. The Predator had finally encountered prey that could fight back. The battle that followed would be remembered as the moment two realities collided. The Harvester and its converted fleet moved with inhuman coordination, dark matter streams weaving between normal space like living shadows. But humanity and the Zenthran had learned to fight impossibilities, and they brought weapons forged from desperation and tempered by hope. Conversion attempts increasing, reported Dr. Byrne, as dark matter tendrils probed their shields with increasing intensity. The entity is adapting to our defensive frequencies. Estimated shield failure in 17 minutes. Captain Voss studied the tactical display where the converted ships were moving to encircle them. Each vessel still carried the echoes of its original crew's knowledge, their tactics and strategies now serving the Harvester's collective intelligence. We can't win a conventional engagement. Too many variables, too many unknowns. Then we don't fight conventionally, Veltari replied, her attention focused on readings that made her sensory stalks quiver with possibility. Crixnall, what's the status on the quantum cascade generator? Her chief engineer's four arms worked frantically at controls that shouldn't have existed. Theoretical maximum achieved, Commander, but the power requirements will drain both ships' entire energy reserves. If this fails, we die anyway, Voss finished grimly. Do it. The quantum cascade generator was their ultimate gambit, a device that merged Zenthran exotic matter research with human engineering audacity. Instead of trying to destroy the Harvester with conventional weapons, they would attempt to destabilize the fundamental forces that allowed it to exist in normal space. Initiating. Cascade sequence, Crixnall announced. All ships, prepare for dimensional displacement. What happened next defied every law of physics that either species understood. The space around them began to fold and twist, but not in the chaotic manner of the Harvester's storms. This was controlled, precise. A surgical strike against the fabric of reality itself. The Harvester's scream reached new octaves of rage and pain as its dark matter matrix began to unravel. The converted ships, suddenly cut off from their controlling intelligence, drifted helplessly as their crews struggled to reassert individual consciousness. It's working, breathed Yathara. The entity's dimensional anchors are collapsing. But the Harvester wasn't finished. In a final act of desperate malevolence, it began to collapse in on itself, creating a cascade reaction that would tear a hole between dimensions. If it couldn't convert this reality to its preferred state, it would destroy the boundary between realities entirely. Dimensional breach forming, Dr. Byrne reported, her voice tight with controlled panic. If that breach reaches critical size, it'll create a permanent gateway between our universe and theirs. Veltari looked at the readings, then at Captain Voss. They had perhaps minutes before an invasion from a dark matter universe became inevitable. There's one option left. The Echo, Voss realized. You're talking about taking your ship into the breach. A research vessel has better sensors, more precise maneuvering capabilities. If I can get close enough to the breach's event horizon, we can use our remaining exotic matter reserves to create a counter-cascade, seal the dimensional boundary permanently. That's a suicide run, Commander. Veltari's mandibles clicked in the Zenthran equivalent of a human smile. Only if we don't time it perfectly. The next few minutes became a testament to the courage that drove explorers into the unknown. The luminous Echo detached from the human ship and began its dive toward the dimensional breach, while the Iron Resolve provided covering fire against the Harvester's dying attempts at retaliation. Breach event horizon in 30 seconds. Crixnall reported with professional calm that belied the magnitude of their situation. Exotic matter reserves armed and ready. 20 seconds, called Yathara. Dimensional readings are off the charts. I can see through to the other side. It's a universe of living darkness, hungry for our light. 10 seconds. All hands, brace for dimensional displacement. Veltari activated the final sequence herself, pouring every erg of their remaining power into a single, precisely timed pulse. The exotic matter detonated not with force, but with possibility, rewriting the local laws of physics to make the dimensional breach impossible to sustain. Reality snapped back like a broken elastic, the breach collapsing with a sound that seemed to echo from the end of time itself. The Harvester's scream cut off abruptly as the entity was torn from normal space and flung back into its native dark matter universe, leaving behind only the slowly cooling wreckage of converted ships and the sudden blessed silence of normal space. Luminous Echo report, came Voss's voice over the comm, tight with concern. Veltari looked around her bridge at crew members who were alive, whole and still wonderfully, impossibly themselves. We're here, Captain. Dimensional breach sealed. The entity is gone. Outstanding. Welcome back to the universe, Echo. As rescue operations began for the deconverted crews and the long process of understanding what they'd encountered started, Veltari found herself contemplating the vast cosmos with new eyes. Somewhere out there were more mysteries, more impossibilities waiting to be discovered. But now she knew that when explorers ventured too far into the unknown, sometimes the unknown ventured back, and when it did, species that had learned to stand together, human and Zenthran, matter and energy, science and courage, could face even the darkest realities and emerge victorious. The universe was vast and full of wonders. Some of them were beautiful, some of them were terrible. All of them were worth defending. In the depths of space, where new alliances had been forged in the crucible of impossible odds, two ships turned toward home, carrying with them the knowledge that no matter how dark the universe might become, there would always be those willing to answer the call for help. The stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter.